Welcome back to our newest deck introduction on Madame Goya Crusher Shaman. In the weeks following the February balance patch, we've seen some slight shifts in the meta that have allowed for a new iteration of Crusher Shaman. The decline in Aggro Shaman and Arena Mage, alongside the rise of Jade Druid, Jade Midrange Shaman, Zoo, and Tempo Mage, have made for a slightly slower meta. With Pirate Warrior functioning as the aggro deck, a Shaman list that can set up strong taunts is able to fend off Aggro Warrior and still retain its Crusher name with soul-crushing plays in the slower matchups. The deck operates on two styles of play. The first involves stalling and healing. 2 copies of Maelstrom Portal, Lightning Storm, Elemental Destruction, Lava Shock, Hex, and Lightning Bolt allow for removal of almost any board state presented in the first 5 turns of a game. By managing your overload carefully and restoring your health with healing waves if necessary, Crusher Shaman can easily set the stage for its late game winning plays. What makes this list unique is the frequency that it can pull off its cheat mechanics. Using Barnes and Madame Goya and Ancestral Spirit, the new list allows for its pulls to target minions that will offer insane value. 2 copies of Farsight are all that's needed to sufficiently cycle to new threats and removal, and can also find an overwhelmingly cheap play like a 0 mana Elemental Destruction or Ysera as a 6-drop. The deck has sometimes been referred to as Concede Shaman because your likely win condition is assembling a play so punishing that your opponent responds by conceding. Something as simple as an Earth Elemental with Ancestral Spirit can be enough for a Pirate Warrior or a Water Rogue to wave the white flag. Managing overload and then staging your value plays correctly are the most essential decision-making components of the deck. Realize that playing Elemental Destruction early in the game without Lava Shock will forfeit your entire next turn. This should only be done in desperate circumstances. Also, understanding which removal is best for a situation is important. For instance, against Miracle Rogue, your use of Hex, Devolve, or Elemental Destruction can be game deciding, since some of your removals can clear a Concealed Gadgetzan Auctioneer or a Finge of the Flying Star while others do not. Guessing what situations will arise in a game will maximize your removal, and it is central to finding success with Goya Shaman. Lastly, it's important to recognize what combos will be most difficult for your opponent to answer. For example, if a Dragon Priest has Shadow Word Death, then baiting it out with a Thing from Below or White Eyes before dropping Ragnaros, Earth Elemental, or the Storm Guardian can win you the game. As you climb with this deck, take the time to review what lines of play you set up and what other decisions might have created more difficult threats for your opponent. The flexible spots rotated by high-level players in recent weeks are Ancestral Knowledge, Devolve, Madame Goya, Sylvanas, and Jinyu Waterspeaker. In general, if you're seeing aggro, it's smart to tech in 1 or even 2 copies of Jinyu and take out Ancestral Knowledge and Madame Goya. The twilight weeks of the Year of the Kraken have been a surprising delight. With the resurgence in nostalgic decks like Zoo and Tempo Mage, the rise of Finja and his friends, and the development of a few new archetypes, it's been an interesting way to close things out and bring in the new year. And there's perhaps no more fitting of a way to close out this season's Hearthstone climb than queuing up this deck and crushing a few opponents on the ladder. Be sure to check out our recent Meta Snapshot breakdown to see where this Shaman archetype is fitting in with the rest of the meta. And please subscribe to stay tuned with all of Tempo Storm's news and Hearthstone content.